All right, all right, all right. Let's get the show on the road. Okie dokie. Hi. Hey, everybody. It's just me for now on the panelist side. But if you are currently joining and you want to join me over here on the panelist counter, I guess, out of platform or side of the conversation, then go ahead. If you're in the participant side and just use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and then I'll bring you over to this side and we should be good. So Jerome, I will bring you over and then you should appear in just a second. We got Mr. Jackson Beal. Let's see what we got. Let's see here. Zoom may take a little while to bring everyone on, but it's going to happen. So give me 1 second. We got Alex. There you go. Who we got to bring on board? Mathis. There's Alex. On over, Jerome. Michael Strobel. Hello.
Thank you.
And the T. That actually happened way faster than I thought it was going to be. Hi, everybody. Understanding people in.
How you doing?
Good. I will let everyone know on the panelist side that I do have a 7-year-old son in the other room that I'll be somewhat managing.
Robert, I discovered a new feature in Zoom.
What's that?
It's the virtual handshake.
Yeah. Or that's the Benny Hill one. You do this. But...
Right. Wasn't Benny Hill like that? The other side?
Oh, you can go like that too. That's more of an aspirational one. Let's see. So we've got
Alexandra is calling.
Jackson. Sorry, Jerome. I was talking to you. I didn't mean to. Okay. I think we have 7. So before we get into what we're going to be doing today, let's do what we did in our last session early on. Just do kind of a quick round of introductions. Let people know.
Robert.
Yep.
Alexandra Shifke asked whether she can be panelist.
All right, that's fine.
And
this is the president
Lisa
of our company coming in to say hi.
Hey.
Right. Okay, so Alexandra's in. Okay, so what do you want to do? Do you want to do con or do you want to do brain pop?
Nothing.
Nothing?
I only did 15 minutes.
So what are you going to do for the next 15 minutes?
Chose option C.
Okay, but you have to wait till 3 o'clock. It's going to be a long time.
I know.
Okay, but then you got to let me do this. There's a lot of people waiting for me. Okay.
He's bribing his son.
Yeah. Oh, Sandy Lamb. We got a Sandy Lamb sighting. All right, hang on. All right, so let's go back to introductions. I think we've added who wanted to come in. Jerome, let's start with you. Go into who you are, what you're all about, where you're located, and let's go with a favorite food this time. What's something that you're in the midst of this pandemic, what are you craving for?
Ooh. Well, anyway, Jeroen Vermoot, located in Eindhoven, the Netherlands, in the middle of a corona hotspot here in the country. Virtual design sprint, remote collaboration fanatic at the moment, and evangelist by connecting people and initiatives together. Founder of Virtual Design Sprints Europe, together with a few of my best mates here in Europe and some affiliates that are also around here. Soon to announce some new news about that, but that's for later. And looking forward to this. And my favorite food at this time, just let's say a bag of French fries with gravy.
Well, that works. There you go. I can take that. Jackson, all the way out in, where are you at, Jackson?
Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia.
Australia. There you go.
Yeah,
what are you all about, and what's your favorite? What are you all about, and what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? I like everything. It's probably one of my biggest problems. There's not a single thing I don't like. I like eating. That's it. I really like it. And in Australia, we've got a breakfast snack called Wheat Bix, which I just had a bowl of because it's 4:30 in the morning here. That was pretty good.
Do you have some Temtems handy? Like
I do have some Tim Tams handy. I do.
I don't know.
We've all got them in the freezer. That's it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming by, Jackson. I know it's really early for you out there, so we're going to.
Oh, look, I wanted to thank you as well, Robert, for putting this together. I know it was a really quick turnaround for you, and I really appreciate the effort, and especially with the family at home and everything. I understand it's very difficult to mobilize a group of people like this in the way you have. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to make it work for everybody involved. Right, Laura, I'm calling you out. This is the first time I've seen you in a while on any kind of stuff that I've been doing. So give an introduction of who you are and what you're all about.
Hello, I'm Laura. I'm based in Switzerland, Zurich. I have a lot of experience in design thinking and facilitating workshops, but until now, mostly were physical workshops. So now trying to get into the remote facilitation and trying to do virtual collaboration. So this is my first Lightning Decision Jam. And after that, yeah.
Newbie!
Woo!
Really looking forward to it. Also, I work in the healthcare sector, so the topic of COVID is very interesting also for me to see how we can help there. And yeah, looking forward to working with you during these 1.5 hours. And my favorite food right now would be Spanish omelette. I'm originally from Barcelona, so I really miss that. And it's easy to cook, so I do it during this time at quarantine.
Very nice. You
guys
guys
realized all we did was talk about my breakfast. Sorry, mate. Do you mind if I just quickly introduce myself? I do more than eat.
Yes, please. I was going to say that's the only thing I really gave anybody any idea about. So
yeah, so I'm UX, CX, big design thinking advocate, and yeah, really see big opportunities to help solve a huge number of problems that are coming off the back of this current situation. So excited to be here. Short and sweet.
Cool. And let's see, who would like to go next? I'm going to leave it out rather than calling out names. Otherwise, I will call a name. Last chance.
I can go next.
I knew it. See, I did that specifically for you, Lisa, because I know you wouldn't know. It's like, yeah. oh, I can go. And I knew that you were going to speak up, so go for it.
Thank you, Robert. Reverse psychology, love it. Okay. Hey, I'm Lisa. I'm calling in from Vienna, Austria. And I'm a design thinker and design sprinter. I've been doing this for quite a while, a couple of years now on site. And since last year, I've been part of the GVDS, co-facilitating and looking forward to being part of the 4th edition here as well. Yeah.
Cool. And favorite food?
Oh, favorite food? Burrito.
Oh, there you go. Maybe I should have asked the wrong question because it's lunchtime around here and I just pounded down some like raisins and peanuts. So I've got maybe I'm secretly like wanting to eat at some point. So maybe I'll just head to Jackson's house and I'll cook him some omelets and bring over it's like we're
I'll eat it.
The mix. Yeah. Matthew.
Hey, Robert, I wonder if there seems to be a few people saying they're having trouble with video, or I don't know if you're seeing that.
I think if they are not on the panel list, they cannot really turn on their video on their side.
Yeah, that's probably good to say. So if your video isn't turning on, that's because you're observing rather than being part of the panelist, rather than adding everybody at the same time, which would be a little bit of a collective chaos like it's been in the past. I'm kind of regulating the panel side to just a handful of people so that if there is some feedback or some discussion around what we're doing, I have a subset of the people that are joining this to kind of bounce things off of or start conversations. So nothing wrong with your setup and your bandwidth is just fine. It's just an elective choice I made just to make sure that everything was kind of working all right. So Matthew, I think I was calling you before. So let people know what you're all about and what you do and what you're hungry for.
Okay. I was supposed just to watch, but to be but okay. So nice to meet you. I'm Mateus. I'm from Brazil, and I knew about design sprint in Ireland. because I did a facilitator program for which they teach design sprint for positive impact initiatives, you know. So I would like to learn more about the design sprint online, and that's why I'm here. And I love feijoada, which is a Brazilian food.
Fishwad?
Feijoada.
Feijoada.
It's like black bean with pork meat.
Wow,
Yeah.
pretty good. All right.
My English is not very good. Very good. Sorry.
My French, my Spanish, my Japanese, my Chinese, every other language beyond English is horrible. So you're way ahead of me. Certainly fine. Let's go to Alex. Alex, what are you all about? Let people know who you are and what you like to eat.
Thanks. So as Jackson, I like to eat everything, but I stopped eating meat like a year ago for health reasons. And now that I know that you are from Australia, I have a banoffee pie in my head that I don't get here in Germany, which is like really something nice. It's like toffee and pie, and yeah, it's a really nice thing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a digital nomad, traveling not so much around in this time at the moment. I was a startup founder. That startup was parked. We were doing Google Maps marketing, so we were optimizing the entries of stores that are now closed for Google Maps. And in my second life, I'm a remote design sprint facilitator. And thanks to Rob, learned the virtual design sprint and be very, very happy to be part of this. And yeah, I think it was a LinkedIn message that I wrote you that started with, it might be no idea, but couldn't we do something with GVDS4 around Corona? I guess I was not the only one that was pinging you. There's a lot, and I really appreciate that you turned this around so fast. And this is really awesome. Thank you very much.
Cool, no problem. And by the way, when this pandemic starts to clear up and say like the latter part of the year, I think you and Jackson make plans to do sort of a food tour around the world, because there's plenty of people that are going to want to be selling what they haven't been able to cook in over 6 to 12 months. So definitely make plans for that. Alexandra, we finally got you over here on the panelist side. So why don't you introduce yourself and let people know what you like to eat?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me in. I'm calling in from Berlin, Germany, from outside of the city, so I don't really know how it looks like inside. I would be really curious to see the empty city. I caught fire for design sprints and remote design sprints last October when I first joined the last GVDS. So I'm really excited about the next one, which we actually are starting right now here officially.
Getting close. It's in
yeah.
May. In April.
I love to see some familiar faces. I really like to see some new faces. About the food, I love to eat. I eat everything really except for Mexican food. Right now, I don't really eat a lot. It's not bad because I have some reserves. But it's just everything I can grab, like avocado, a banana. So that's pretty boring, but I will get into cooking again.
I don't think anybody. So I'll join you in the boredom aspect, because again, peanuts. There's not really much flavor with that. And on the topic of reserves, I'm right there with you. So it's perfectly fine if we have all of that, especially right now what we're doing. So
yeah, we're saying a lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm more excited than you guys. I have chocolate right here. That's my dinner.
By the way, what you're eating? Okay, Jerome has chocolate too. Snickers.
I did not come to this meeting fully prepared.
I'm preparing my how do you call it? My GVDS type of eating habits. It's always late after dinner. You need to survive. Chocolate.
Yeah, it's inspirational food. Yeah, I'd say that much.
If you do a good GVDS, you gain 2 kilos.
Yeah, there you go. That you have to. Then you have plenty of reserves if you do it right.
I cannot afford that. I cannot afford 2 more kilos.
I'll shut up now.
Okay, Kexton, Hi.
Hi, Robot. Hi, everyone.
So what are you all about and what do you love to eat?
So I just graduated from my program in graduate school, and yes, and I participated in the last GVDS and had a really great experience. And I'm curious because I've been following news like pretty intensely in these past few weeks. So I'm curious like what everyone else come up with, and also I'm curious about what problems you guys are interested in solving, because like right now I have like a lot of ideas, like a lot of things I want to like explore more, but I'm really curious what you guys are interested in, hear your thoughts. Yeah, and I think what makes it special is like we have people from like all over the world, so the situation is very different in different countries, so I think it would be a really great discussion. And my favorite food is tacos. I'm like really craving for a good taco right now, which is hard to find.
You know, if the GVDF ever gets to the point where I can start local catering and arrange for like food to be delivered to people that are part of this event, then I'll probably go that route. But you'll just have to tell me what you appreciate, what the local thing is, so that when you have these sessions, basically lunch is arranged to go, okay, tacos are at the front door before you do your solution sketch. You could basically like have a little bit of lunch. I don't think I'll ever get there.
Best idea you've ever had, Rob. That is so good.
Okay, Kekshan, glad you're here. Let's see. We only got a couple more. There's a man that's been patiently waiting, and I think he's been doing artwork while he's been waiting for us to kind of call on him. His name's Michael Strobel. So, Michael, why don't you kind of pipe up and let people know what you're about and what you're craving for?
Sure. My name is Michael Strobel. I'm currently in shutdown in Fort Worth, Texas. So currently I'm in retail on the ecom team, so I'm more of a designer. Before that, I was in finance or in a financial firm, pretty much doing the same thing. So I've held many roles, but I still, gravitate towards calling myself a designer. So UX, UI, etc. So in each one of those spots, I've always been a big advocate of collaborative problem solving, and sprints has been a really, kind of a game changer. And it's just trying to get those corporations to kind of back you with that. So that's always kind of been a fun little task, is to kind of get people to kind of come along with it. But my experience has been that once you kind of introduce them to it, even if you have to do it kind of covertly, they all kind of gravitate towards the results that you kind of get from there. Things I like to eat, anything I can find on the shelves these days. But I really miss having, there's a really cool place not too far away from here called Ume, which is Korean barbecue. I really miss eating there. So hopefully someday, when all this is over, that'll maybe be my first spot to get back to. So, but anyway, good to be here, and first time in. So thanks for inviting me, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and with design sprints, it's piecemeal. So you got to kind of do things especially if you're embedded in an enterprise, one small step at a time. That's pretty much how it works.
Right, and we've found that that's really the most successful way to do it. It's like, it's kind of overwhelming to kind of go in and ask them all to kind of, okay, lock down all the executives for like a week. So I've always like started to kind of covertly do it. Like, so it's part of our design process, but you kind of bring people along into all these workshops and activities. And once they kind of get to that testing stage, and then when they finally see the results of what the actual user test is, what the users are actually saying about their products and how that, iterates into a really, really good product, they buy in quick after that point.
Yep. It all sounds familiar.
Yeah.
And I just added somebody that said, you know what, I am a health professional. It would be nice if you added me to the call and actually brought me on so I could have a conversation. So there you go. Ruth, why don't you tell everybody what you're all about?
So I'm a head of, so actually I'm originally German, or I am German, but I live in London. So in one of these hubs in England where right now COVID is buzzing. We work for an online virtual consulting, virtual doctor. And right now business is going through the roof because we're shutting London down. So this is the spot to be. The food I'm craving is, because I am German, I am missing a good currywurst. haven't had one in a long time, so I'm waiting to be able to travel and get a currywurst.
I get this feeling that there's going to be massive weight gain around October and November timeframe when this thing kind of clears up, and the businesses were shut down because there were no business. Now they're going to be completely saturated with tons of stuff where they're going to be doing temporary hiring for the holidays, which is probably going to be, it's going to be a virtuous cycle probably for everybody. Very glad you're here, Ruth. Then finally, with it really needs no introduction, somebody that's been literally at everything that I've been doing lately. It's the incomparable Sandy Lamb out in Leipzig, Germany. Why don't you tell everybody what you're about, and what you are craving for these days, besides chocolate?
I think I've been craving for the poutine. I'm a Canadian, so
Oh, there you go.
I've been not able to get it here. For those who don't know me, my name is Sandy, and I'm in Germany here. So they do have fries, but they don't know how to make proper poutine. I have to say that.
Yeah.
That's something I really crave for. But I have a question for the health eating. How do we keep up with our nutrition when we do GVDS?
That's a very good question. I almost think there should be a food channel within GVDS so that we can actually like exchange some suggestions. I have a few. I know Jerome probably has them. Juices, Lisa says. Then yeah, bagels. Yeah, you can do that. So we'll have to talk about that later, because I think coming into May, I think we'll probably have to have a short list for people who want to be involved with it, know what they should probably stock up on in terms of like healthy eating. Okay, so, or fasting. He said fasting. Well, that's certainly going to prompt you to have some interesting conversations around ideas, but yeah, I guess it just depends. Okay, so let's get the show on the road. We have a little over an hour, and what I'll do, so this is in two parts. The first is I will be going through each particular section we'll be working on and explaining the rationale and the reasoning behind why we do it. And then we're going to go through each of the exercises together. And the panelists are here to basically inform me if I'm missing something in chat or if they have any questions about the process. But basically, this is meant to drive towards something actionable towards the end, where we're figuring out, based on our results, where we seem to gravitate towards in terms of ideas and outcomes, and if we see any sort of future kind of activity in relation to what we kind of generate today. So what I'll be doing is sharing my screen for the benefit of everyone that is watching on Zoom and on YouTube right now. So you may see my big giant head fall away, and you'll start to see, hopefully, the right screen that I'm going to be highlighting that will have the mural on there. I'm also going to be sharing out the mural in both Zoom and in YouTube, so that if you are watching the live stream on your end, you can go ahead and participate as well. I'm not discriminatory in that regard, so let me do that really fast for all panelists and attendees. Right. So let me get back to the proper window. And, nope, not that one. Where to go? There we go. And I'll go ahead and switch into Zoom and start sharing my screen so that everyone can see what I am seeing. Now, again, part of the purpose here, and I'll reiterate it just so if it wasn't clear, is that this is meant to inform the GVDS on COVID-19 related subject matter that we could potentially do as a design sprint. But it's also to produce ideas for people that do not want to participate in the GVDS, but want to take a novel idea and an outcome and a concept and take it back to their organizations or people that they know, so that if they feel that they could help in some way based on the results here, they can do so. So this is dual purpose. It's not necessarily being selfish and saying you only can do it if you're in the GVDS. This is basically to have a more broader conversation about how we can make an impact for the pandemic that's currently gripping pretty much the entire world at this point. So I will start with going through each of the sections briefly. I will then ask for questions from the panelists in case there isn't anything that I said that's unclear, and we'll kind of address it when that comes up. So Overall, in this particular session, it's going to incorporate 5 different steps, one of which we've kind of already done in advance through the COVID-19 mural board that I'd set up earlier. The first being is, which COVID-19 related issues should we address? So before we started our session, I went in and took from a COVID-19 board that I started some things that people had put there in advance. Now, there's not much room here in terms of gray boxes, but that was part of the point, is that we can save some time by kind of filling those in advance. But I will give you the option of putting in anything else you'd like to do so while I'm kind of explaining the board. So if you don't want to hear me talk and find me boring, feel free to kind of put in some additional thoughts around issues related to COVID-19 in these gray boxes. If you're feeling spiffy, you can go ahead and put additional gray boxes down below, but we will be kind of voting on those and seeing where they kind of end up in terms of novel ideas. So after we figure out what issue we should concentrate on for at least this session, because I'll remind everyone that I'm doing 4 sessions overall in the next 2 weeks. So this is just number 1. There's going to be a second, a third, and a fourth one related to COVID-19. So don't think that a lot of the things that are here are not going to be considered just for the session. They're going to be carried forward into future sessions if we do these again. So after we figure out what we want to concentrate on as a group, we're going to go into some ideation around the question that's posed here, and figure out some particular ideas that or directions we could possibly go in. We'll take a look at these and then do some affinity diagramming in terms of categorizing with these ideas and then putting them in their proper places, discarding some things that are either uncharacterized, not uncategorized, but duplicates, and kind of studying what people come up with. So this is kind of a closed card session here where we aren't going to go past the ideas here. Otherwise, it may be too taxing for us in terms of kind of consuming all the ideas and trying to sort them out, which it has been in the past. Once we center on 3 particular ideas after voting in this section, we're going to go to part 3. And what we're going to do is look at the initial question that we posed, the 3 novel ideas that come out of this section, and we're going to start to think of outcomes. So this is kind of new for this process, but essentially the idea that we have, say, in the blue is going to come here. And then we're going to think of particular outcomes that could be novel if this thing ran its course and went to fruition, whatever that idea is. There'll be a short spat of voting for all 3 of these, so that when we come out of it, we're going to have both an idea and a top outcome, or maybe 2 outcomes that correspond to that idea that would be really keen to see, that would be ideal. We'll take that forward into the 4th part, which is ranking the ideas. So we're going to have the question, what the ideas and what they're going to be achieving. And then individually, we're going to be putting our names in these dots and going to this impact and interest matrix, which I am going to lock down right now because in the past it has moved on me. And that's never fun trying to chase that thing around. But you're basically going to put dots on places where in this matrix where either you have a high interest in the particular idea that we have, and then you're going to measure on impact in terms of impact on the y-axis, and x-axis is the interest, where if something really interests you, it would probably be in this quadrant up here in the second one, or if it's something that doesn't quite interest you or doesn't really hit the target for you, you can basically put it here. But everyone's going to have a say in terms of where they would like they would want to be putting their focus on going forward. And then finally, the last part is asking the question, where do you want to go with this? So based on the dots that are here, we're going to kind of build out like an initial team of people that if they focused on this one, they probably want to put their emphasis there. And this is partly conversation and partly kind of doing. So there's going to be no voting here. This is going to be a general conversation about the kind of research and pre-work that would be needed to inform this idea, the SMEs in the community that would be kind of coming around and that we would have to engage with to inform the idea as well, or that we would want to come back to test the idea. And then finally, if you were serious about kind of getting involved with this, what you would want to do. Would you want to be a designer, a researcher? Where would you want to go with things? So that's essentially the 5 steps overall that we're looking at from soup to nuts. And it looks like somebody copied the entire thing on the right, which is fine. I may have to delete that just in case Mural starts to lag a little bit, but that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions about what I just explained before we get started? I will say before fielding questions that this is being recorded, and I will be posting both the recording and the mural board for everyone to consume post-event, so it won't be stuck in a barrel. It'll actually be propagated and shared with other people who are interested.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
For the panelists that are now on the screen, who's objecting against a screenshot being posted in the social media with the faces? Anybody objecting? Okay.
You know, I don't want to be famous.
Okay, then we know enough. Thank you very much.
Yes, Vlj says, yeah. Well, you can say it's totally optional. You just, Jerome, what I've been doing is asking for.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. So you can.
Yeah, me too. That's
Yeah.
totally fine.
So what I'll tend to do is I'll go ahead and I'll ask it right before I take the picture. Sometimes it's like if anyone is shy about getting their shot down, then just basically turn off their video before I do so, and that usually does the trick. Okay. Right. So it looks like part one is pretty much almost set. I mean, there's 3 cards here where for people that are either on that are watching this or that are in the mural can put in their last 3 if you want to fill those in with some other things. But I think take some time to kind of scan the cards and look at the different ones that are here. And if you see 2 that are very, very similar where you can make the argument that one of them should be removed because it's a duplicate, all you have to do is select both cards and essentially give them a different color. Any color that's visible here. So I'm not saying these are the same, but you just basically color them so you can put emphasis that that potentially one of them could be removed from the stack. So, and I'll go over them as a facilitator to kind of go to see what they're all about. So there's 2 here. One says, how might we help hospitals and medical personnel before and during the possible shortage? And how might we ensure doctors don't run out of proper masks and sanitized gloves? So they're very, very similar. I don't know if I would make the argument to remove one. I think they're in the same environment or the same conversation, but they address slightly different things. So I probably would leave them as is. How might we make it easier to find and share factual information rather than fake news and advice? Oh, that was highlighted, but I didn't see. Oh, how might we limit fake news? See, I see that down there. Yep. And then there's one that has a lot of writing here that says, how might we prevent our real virtual friends from spreading fake news? How might we increase people's literacy during a pandemic with so much? Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's 4 of them. They're all very, very similar. How might we make it easier to find and share factual rather than fake news and advice? So I definitely would probably remove this one. I'm going to take this off over here just temporarily. How might we increase media literacy during a pandemic when there's so much? That one's media literacy and not necessarily the fake news aspect of it. Prevention of that versus how you use to define and share factual information. I would probably keep both of those. I think how might we limit fake news is too general to be there. So that's the one I'll probably take out. How might we reframe the term social distancing to physical distancing? How might we offer opportunities for people to physically but not socially isolate? Very similar. I would say probably could still be there, but when we go to voting, you just have to be aware that they're very similar. How might we make sure this will not happen again to the same extent? How might we not spread it after everyone goes back to normal? They are, yeah, I would say probably the same. By the way, when I'm going over these cards, one thing that's helped in the past is that if I say which of these cards should we probably keep, then probably use your mouse and kind of do a circle over a card that you think is more relevant versus the other. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the 2 pink cards down here. And I'll kind of summon people so that they understand where I'm at. Okay, so we keep that one, and then this one goes away. Got it. We got 2 light purple ones. How might we prevent companies and individuals from going bankrupt? How might we help business organization urgently need a transformation to survive? They're very similar. This kind of gets a little bit more succinct around what the end results could be. And this one's about survival, which is more generic. So they could probably both live in the same space. How might we have I'm looking at the hot red. How might we have an urgent, immediate support at community level? How might we create more vibrant virtual communities and encourage and support staying home? They both mention community, but this one feels like it's more broad. This one basically speaks out virtual, I'd say. I would keep both of them, at least, and just know that they're kind of in the same space. How might we improve life in home isolation, digital, non-digital? How might we address the needs of people in physical self-isolation? Yeah, you can make the argument that they're the same. If you're paying attention, the two yellows here that I'm going to highlight and put borders around, let me know by a show of mouse cursors which of these you would probably keep. So all you have to do is just put your mouse over either this one or this one in terms of which do you think is the more relevant or defined. We got 3 there. We got a whole bunch there. Okay, so this one right underneath the COVID is too close to the COVID, so that's got to go away. Thank you very much for that. We'll do a couple more and then we'll get into it. How might we make youngsters and students realize this is not a joke? I'm looking at the green. And how might we get people to take this seriously? One is specific, the other one's more general, but they could probably live in the same space. I think that's it. How might we ensure that we learn the right lessons from this pandemic as soon as it's finished? How might we make sure this will not happen again to the same extent? Yeah, they're close. Give me a quick kind of cursor on either this one in the upper right-hand side in the pink, or the one that's down at the very bottom left for that one in terms of which one should stay. So put your mouse cursor over which one you think should be kind of playing there. Yep, okay. The tribe has spoken. This was like Survivor digital post-it note. Okay. All right, so let's get the show on the road and start some voting. So if you've never done voting in Mural before, the way this works is all of the cards you see here, the gray cards and the colored cards in this space, you're going to be putting a vote towards the question that you want to explore as a group. Usually we parse out a number of votes per person, but since we're combining both participants and panelists, I'm going to limit the votes a bit just because it will be a lot. So looks like we have roughly 7, 14, 21, 24, 25, 50. I'd say I'll give everyone 5 votes. And this is for everyone that's on the mural right now. So you can put a single vote on a card and spread those around, or you can put multiple votes on a particular card that you would be keen on exploring in this session. And again, we will take these forward in future sessions that are unthemed to get more ideas around some other things that come up, okay? So I'll start a voting session in Mural. We're gonna be voting on the question of the hour. Everyone has 5 votes. And again, what you'll do is you'll click on any of the cards that you see in that space we just worked on. You can hold down your shift key to remove a vote from what you've done. And anything you're gonna be doing is anonymous. So no one's gonna basically see your votes. So have at it. It's gonna be a combination of both people that are in the panelist side as well as people that are just part of the mural. So feel free to vote on what you would like to move forward with. And the shrimp was fast. I'm doing a play-by-play at this point. Laura's right behind the shrimp, could take it over. And the rhino just blasts by everybody and gets into first. Shrimp still hanging out, finally gets in second. Ruth and Laura and Marcus and Americo are all vying for net 3. Laura steps out in front. She's got 1 vote left. Now we got 3 people with votes, and looks like Americo crosses the finish line with 3rd. Everybody else can take their time with their votes. This is not a race. Just a little bit of entertainment. I'll stay silent until we get close to the vote ending, and I'll look at chat to see if there's anything in there. Yeah, it looks like Americo is in. Okay, we're getting close to narrowing things down. We have a ladybug that's made one vote. And it looks like Adrian and an anonymous shrimp are trying to figure out where that last vote should go. Soul is almost done. She's done. And for reference, I'll wait 10 seconds after the voting goes still, meaning that no one votes. And that'll be the time that I'll try to end the voting session. Yeah, Americo, sometimes it gets a little bit, sometimes if you have any problems with Mural, sometimes refreshing your page tends to help. But it just depends on which browser you're using. If you're using Chrome, probably refreshing will do the trick. Okay, so I think we're still going to give 5 more seconds. And if there's no other movement, I'll go ahead and end the voting session. We'll see how things ended up. Oh, a sheep just moved. Whoa, a sheep's moving fast. I'm waiting for the sheep took off the votes. All right, Mr. Sheep or Mrs. Sheep, you've got 15 seconds. The hammer's coming down. I'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Ending the voting session now. Let's see where everything ended up. So it looks like the one that came out on top was how might we ensure that we learn the right lessons from this pandemic as soon as it's finished. And then the one that was a close second that had a bit more votes from individuals was how might we ensure people don't get depressed in isolation. So both novel ones, and there's a third. There are a few here that are now that are in third that have all had 7 votes, which was how might we help business organizations urgently need a transformation to survive and so on. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to move forward with how might we ensure that we learn the right lessons from this pandemic, and we'll put that into the box that's right over here in part 2. So it's a pretty broad question, and it's perfect for ideation. The way this works is you're going to be basically going into this space and rapidly thinking of ideas that would basically address this particular question. So how would you answer that from your perspective? And again, I'll go ahead and summon everyone to where I'm looking. Oh,
sorry, there's already a vote there.
Yeah, that's weird. Let's get rid of that. That's probably an artifact. Okay. Bring it over. Okay. So no time. I have a feeling we'll probably fill out these cards pretty fast, but go ahead and look at the question that says, how might we ensure that that the right lessons from this pandemic as soon as it's finished, and basically answering this question, and go ahead and start double clicking on any of these gray squares to answer that particular question in a fashion that you feel would be proper. And these are basically ideas that you have. They can be practical, they can be bold, they can be off the wall, literally anything you'd like to do. You can even be pessimistic, you can be completely optimistic, but put in what's on your mind in terms of answering that particular question, and then we'll take a look at what people come up with. And I'll give this, actually, I will put a timer too. I'll give it 3 more. Oh, I'll give it 3 minutes. See where people kind of vet out after that, how much we can fill out. And Jerome, yeah, I removed everything. I had it in mind. I just wanted to get through the exercise first.
Instant improvement.
Yeah.
We are running out of stickies.
That's okay. If we run out, that's perfectly fine. That's the whole point. We don't want to get too many. Otherwise, it's a bit of a time consumption to try to go through all of them. Okay.
Who's going to fight for the last one?
It's going to be double click twice, so
Ooh,
there'll be like a card that comes after
Sandy.
it. Okay, once those last few digital cards are done, when you're finished typing in your card, go ahead and select anywhere in the white space to deselect it, so that I can move it down to our next sub activity. So there's only like 3 or 4 that are still selected. It looks like a goat and a hippo and a shrimp. Whoever has make this a subject in school still has it selected. Creating a rapport with relevant information, positive and negative impacts is still selected. And I think that's it. Oh, there's one other one. There is the person that is doing accessible mental health care. I think that's Kexon. Could you please deselect your card so that I may get it? Please. Unless you finish your thought. All right. So I'm going to take everything except the rabbits. And I'm going to, not that one. Give me a minute. I'm going to drag everything down here. I'm going to expand this out a bit. Okay. So we're going to go through a bout of affinity diagramming. Now, if you've never done this before, this is how it works. You're going to look at these cards and you're going to look for 2 or 3 that look similar. Let's say just hypothetically that these first 2 are something where like they're very, very similar. You're going to go up to a gold card that says category and you're going to write in a category. Let's call it muffins. And the idea would be is that this is a card that's all about muffins and this is a card that's all about muffins. And you continue doing that for the rest of the categories up here, continually putting the cards down below in places where they feel they should be in the categories up above. The thing to keep in mind is that while you're working on this, if you start seeing a category that has more than 10 or 15 cards in it, it probably needs to be divided out into a subcategory of some type. So go ahead and have at it. This is pretty much for the group to kind of disseminate. Go through and kind of pick apart the cards that are down below and put them in categories that make sense to you. And then when we get to a point where we've pretty much subbed everything out, then we'll go ahead, we'll do a quick scan for duplicates and we'll do some voting. And I'm going to move the cards down just a little bit so that people can put some space in between the 2 of them. And we'll bring Mario Rabbit down here to kind of look and see what's going on. And I'm only familiar with rabbits because my son played that game on the Switch for a while. For those of you that are in the Zoom, since we're closing in an hour, go ahead and chat and give me a scale of 1 to 10 of how you're feeling about the session. If it's anything less than 8, do put in a comment to tell me how I could improve what we've been doing so far. Maybe curb some things I'm doing or do more of something. Would really help me kind of improve how I facilitate these online sessions. Yeah, always with the animations. Okay. Looks like we're getting close. We have a few stragglers at the bottom that we're trying to mixing in. One tool tip for using Mural is that if you're finding your columns to be a little long on the tooth, what you can do is basically highlight all the cards in a particular row. So I'm going to do the one for shared data points. I'll highlight all of those. All you have to do in the sub menu that comes up is select the arrange icon that's like third from the left and just put into a column, and it'll line everything up pretty well and space everything out appropriately. This will probably, and for reference, this will probably be the last really intensive exercise we'll do for the session. The rest of these going forward are fairly fast. This one just tends to be a lot just because we're working with a lot of different ideas. Okay, as we're wrapping up the sorting, what you'd like to do is similar to what we did in the previous one. Just highlight particular cards that are very similar in nature. They can be in the same category if you want to, but something where you could make the argument that one could be eliminated because it's redundant. And again, do color them if they seem to be similar in any way. And we'll just briefly scan them and call upon the wisdom of the crowds or wisdom of crowds to see if there's one that that needs to be considered. So there's one over here that says a good Netflix series about the topic, make movies, TV shows about it, make a movie of it. Yep, all three could be considered. Is there one, let's say, highlight the one that you think should be eliminated out of the three. If there was one that we could pare it down, which one would you take out of those three that's under TV? Yep, okay, so make a movie out of it since it's kind of duplicated there. That one goes. Got one over here, 3. It says best practices of reviewing a strategy so that it has in place. Look at best practices, identify root cause and best responses. Again, we'll go for elimination. Does anyone feel strongly about eliminating any of those 3 cards in blue that I'm looking at? If there is no kind of consensus, then we can leave them all as is. See 3, well, they're kind of congregated, so that one should probably go there. Okay, thank you very much. Let's see, place for everyone to share their stories under public feedback. Keep an ongoing open discussion about personal experiences. Those are very similar. Put your mouse over the one that you would want to eliminate out of the 2 between place for everyone to share their stories and keep an ongoing discussion. Which one should be eliminated, removed, taken out? Oh, this one? Right. So that one that goes. Thank you, everybody. I think we're good otherwise. Let me clean up this a little bit in terms of getting them all in the same row. Whoa. I'm going to take that out just because I don't want to. If I try to sort a line, it's going to get a little messy. A column. Do this one here to eliminate space on this side. All right. Good. I think we're good. So what you're going to be doing is we'll go through another voting round. You'll be voting on the 5 particular ideas here that address the question that I've highlighted in blue of how might we ensure that we learn the right lessons from the pandemic as soon as it is finished. So 5 votes for everybody. You can spread those out anywhere you want, but do not vote on the categories. Do not put votes on the gold cards. That's not going to be counted towards the end results. So concentrate on any of the gray cards or the cards that we've colored to try to find matches. And I'll go ahead and start it out. This is all about ideas. Anybody on the mural can do it. And give it a go. Click on something that you want to vote on. Shift click if you want to remove it. No one will be able to see what you're voting on. You can always vote on more than one card if you want. And let's see initially how the voting is panning out and who's pretty determined to put where they want to put on.
And another tip is if you don't want to constantly zoom in and out, just hold down the X key and then mouse hover, that's the key, and then you will see it blow up in a bigger view.
Is this for, it doesn't matter if it's on Mac or PC, it's both?
Oh, I only have a Mac, but I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I'll take your word for it.
Someone has a Windows can try it.
Okay. So Susie's completely done. Virginia's right behind her. Ruth is just about to make her votes. The shrimp has stepped into play. So is Americo. Jackson Beal went in front of everybody. Nope, he took those votes off. He changed his mind. Virginia, Sandy, Americo, Ruth, all part of the conversation. Virginia and Ruth are about to close out. So is Americo, and Susie does. Virginia does. And Sandy comes in third. All right, we'll just wait for everyone else to get their votes done. I'll let you know when things slow down. Just in advance, if you do have something at the top of the hour you need to go to, you can just say bye in chat and say whatever comments you'd like, constructive or otherwise, about the session today. In case we do run slightly over, I wouldn't want to keep people if they have other commitments they need to go to. And Lisa's standing. Oh, never mind. You guys are talking in chat. Never mind. Okay, we're closing out. We're getting close. Looks like we have Adrian, Paulo, a goat. The goat's the only one that's left, and a rhino. Just a goat, a lone goat. Putting their votes in. And we're just about done. There's that one vote that's going to, no pressure, goat, that's going to basically decide everything for us as a group. Got to put that one vote where it's supposed to go down. There you go. Awesome. All right, we'll end the voting session, see what came out of this. And it looks like we have a top 3 right off the bat. Identify root cause and best responses, a good Netflix series about the topic, and make this a subject in school. Followed by ones that were also popular about have universal guidelines in place that must be followed if it happens again, and continue to work remotely where possible to save lives. So we got a top 3, everything that had 6 votes, which is perfect. I'll go ahead and take those 6, and I'm going to just basically make copies of them. Give me about 30 seconds for a little bit of logistics so I can set things up over here. And I will start on, I believe we are in part 4. So give me 1 second and I will bring everything together.
Let's do a wave in the meantime. I'll start.
Okay.
I'm next.
Yeah, it's going to feel real weird because people are going to be in different places on the chat. So, okay. Right, we're good to go. So I will summon everyone where I'm at real fast. Okay, so this part is about ideal outcomes. So let's go walk through this. So we want to make sure that people learn the right lessons from the pandemic when it's finally finished. These are the 3 things that we voted on that we could do to make sure that we basically answer the question or do the how might we in the right way. Identify the root cause and best responses, a good Netflix series about the topic, and make this a subject at school. Now I've put all 3 of those as basically ideas on the left that we voted on. What you're going to do as a group is think of the outcome that would be ideal for this. So if we had the idea where if we did this idea and identified the root cause and best responses, what is the ideal outcome if this is achieved or realized? Same thing with a good Netflix series about the topic. What would be the ideal outcome based on this? And again, it doesn't need to necessarily be a one-to-one relationship where you just answer it in the right way. It could have a little bit of creativity to it, but what we're attempting to do here is to think of the end state, or you could call it the long-term goal if you're familiar with sprint terminology, is to think about where this would ideally end up in terms of an outcome. Again, there is no right or wrong answers. This is just exploration. Go ahead and put those out until we exhaust all 12 boxes in each of those particular aspects. And then we'll do a quick round of voting before going into the next step. And if you've been catching on what I've been doing with this, I'm actually doing a little bit of storytelling. At least that's what I've been kind of driving towards. Okay, we have a few more to fill out. And this will, let me just double check, but I think this will be our last voting thing or session. So what we will do in advance, just to let you know, we're going to be voting on one card, one outcome for each one. So each of you are going to have 3 votes. You'll place one vote on one outcome in each of the 3 ideas here. and where it should go. You don't want to put all 3 votes on a particular card. That would probably kind of defeat the purpose of the exercise. So for those of you who are making extra cards, Solika, stop doing that. Michael, what are you doing? We're just going to go with the outcomes that are listed here in the 12, just as an example. And again, this isn't set in stone. This is to give an idea of where it could go. If a team eventually forms around this, they have the complete freedom to change or modify anything we do in this session. This is to give an example of where the thinking has started. And it can provide a head start on a lot of the activities you could do in terms of research or discovery in that instance. So 1 vote each from everybody that's paying attention on one outcome you think would be ideal for the idea that's on the left. So you're only going to vote on the gray cards here. Don't worry about duplicates. Pick the one that basically is closest to your ideal outcome state. I can put it that way. So we're voting on outcomes. Everyone has 3 votes. 1 vote per idea, please. And when we're done with this, we're going to see which outcomes seem to be the one that, from a group standpoint, stood out the most. So again, 1 vote in row 1, 1 vote in row 2, and 1 vote in row 3. Okay, it looks like we just have a few people left. It's down to Kekshin, a shark, and a goat. Sounds like the beginning of a joke. Kekshin, a shark, and a boat all walked into a bar. But I don't know what the joke would be.
But the start was promising.
Yeah. Okay. 10-second warning. About to close it down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting session is ending. Let's see where everything kind of panned out for the end result. So this is more of a heat map. We're going to close out of this and take a look. It looks like for the Make This a Subject at School, the one that seemed to kind of come together, and I'll summon everybody really fast, is awareness and understanding personal responsibility for actions is this one. For the good Netflix series about the topic is Black Mirror, What Happens If We Don't Learn from This Experience the Next Time? And the other one is Identify Root Cause and Best Responses. So this one was mixed, but the one that seemed to come out was Create a Proactive Plan to Stop the Spread Next Time. Okay, so we have 3 that particularly match each of these. And again, I'll bring them over. Just give me a minute, 30 seconds, something like that. Oh, wait a minute, copied the wrong card. This one. Okay. So now we're going to figure out what you personally make of all of this. For those of you who've gone through this exercise, this is going to look really familiar, but we've added a new mix to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank these particular ideas that we've generated as well as the outcomes that they're supposed to kind of correspond to. So you can read them here. I won't repeat them again for the purposes of kind of saving time. But essentially, you're going to look at these particular items in blue and in gold and in green. And you're going to figure out which of these have an interest for you personally and which ones you think have the most impact. Now, the way to do this is, and I'm going to kind of showcase it here. I'll summon everyone one last time. You're going to first go over to the right and put your name on these cards from left to right. So I'm going to go in the first row. I'm going to put Robert, and I'm going to put Robert again, and I'm going to put Robert again. I'm going to take the blue one, which corresponds to the first idea, which was identify root cause and best responses and create a proactive plan to stop spread next time. So if I put my dot in the very middle, I'm going to first look at impact, which is the y-axis. Do I think that this is going to have a greater impact than most if we do this idea, or do I think it would have less impact? And for me, probably this one, it's definitely going to be something where people have a learned experience. It's probably going to be a pretty good impact right around here. And then I have to gauge it by interest. What's my interest in this particular solution in terms of my involvement? Like, do I want to kind of see this through? Would I want to kind of be part of the conversation? And for me, my interest is probably right around here. So I'm interested. I think it has high potential, but that's about where my interest is in comparison to other particular things that could take up my time. So that's kind of how to use this graph. You'll want to do that for both the gold circle as well as the green circle in terms of figuring out where you fall in this. But I'm going to go ahead and put my circle back. Go ahead and take these circles and put them where you feel that they should apply here in this matrix. You don't have to feel bad if you feel like you want to put in the forget about it. That is totally up to you, and there is no judgment here. This is basically trying to gauge, based on both the idea and the outcome, where people kind of fall in terms of both their interest in the idea and the outcome and what kind of impact they'll think they'll have. And we'll wait till all the circles kind of fall into place in the matrix before we go any further. And I will speak to the president of our organization here to find out what he's all about. What you need?
I just wanted to see this.
You just want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead if you want to. Okay, just wait. Do you know how many people are currently on this?
What?
34. And they're dialing in from all over the world. More so in Europe than even here. Some of them, one of them, his name's Jackson, he got up at 4:30 in the morning for this. 4:30 in the morning. He ate some food and he got in front of the computer so he could participate.
But he's also in Australia, so half around the world from you guys.
Yeah, he's in Australia too.
I don't know if you know this, but the water spins the other way when we flush the toilet down here, mate.
Yeah, so it doesn't go in a clockwise fashion. It's kind of cool.
Which is fascinating to see, I must admit.
Do you happen to know which direction the water goes when you flush it here? Does it go clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
It's clockwise?
Yeah.
Okay. Not in Australia. Yeah, no. You're making money now. Every point is basically $1. So it looks like we're almost done. We'll wait until there's a little less movement and then we'll go on. What do you want to do, bud? I got to go back to this. Okay. You can use the iPad for doing that too. Okay. You can use this as well.
I'm going to be sitting here so you know.
I love the fact that you're not making a fuss about it, because we all notice that if you just integrate the little people, it's fine. Mm-hmm. They're not that interested. So perfect. Well done.
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's amazing. We start thinking totally different about that professor in Hong Kong that was interrupted on the BBC journal.
Yes. Sure. I almost wish someone on camera would just get tackled by their kid. They just want to wrestle, take them by the collar and like bring them down, totally disrupt things. And everybody go like, yeah, I get right. That. Okay. So as with the circles are kind of finally falling in place, it's interesting because after we did the outcome, it looks like the blue one seems to have the most resonance. Green has a lot as well. The Netflix series about the topic seems to be kind of fall in terms of less interest. But to go into the final step of this, what we would need to do is, based on where your circles are in this upper right-hand side, in Mural, you can select your name or your circle, and I want you to put a border around your particular name. So basically, you select your circle and you basically select the square that says border, and that will indicate that the border will basically indicate that you want to move your name into the final stage, which is I'd like to kind of see where this goes. You aren't making a commitment to get into a sprint or anything like that, but you do want to continue the conversation past what we do in this session. So for this particular one, it's like, okay, this seems like it's right up my alley. I'd like to try to bring this together. So let's see where this kind of falls. And as you do that, after we kind of put those borders on those circles, can you turn that down a little bit, Ben? Go ahead and move that circle over to the right, where under who in part 5 over here. So once you have that, you can actually, instead of moving the circle, make a copy of it and go ahead and put it right over into the right-hand side, which might be a better way of doing it. So that way we can still capture the votes, but do that. So in the case of, say, like Matthew, who's over here in green, it's basically just copying, and then over here you basically paste it so that it falls right over into the right-hand side, and then you can place your name over there. You can also there's a handy shortcut that Sandy did, where on the Mac you can do a Command D, which should duplicate any particular circle that you have highlighted. And you can bring that over you can drag it over into that section. And Alex, I'll go ahead and put yours up right over here. And Joron Solika, I'll also put yours over here as well. Okay, so these last 10 minutes are open for conversation about the research and pre-work needed, the SMEs and the community organizers that you may be interested in kind of touching or reaching out to it. It doesn't have to be finished in this session. This is just where what we've established so far is the question we wanted to go after related to COVID, the ideas and the outcomes we were thinking about. And as we're building out the who, this is potentially the folks that could be part of a team if we were to form it around exploring this idea. If you're listed in the blue section here, where it's Laura, Ruth, Keith, Michael, Jerome, and so on, down here in the research and the pre-work, I'm going to go ahead and put the idea in this space. Alden, you need to move that because that's too much noise for me, buddy. You have to go in the room.
We can actually not hear him.
Oh, I can, but there's in Brain Pop, there's a robot that basically has something that goes, did it? And in the back of my side, it's like going, so let's do focus. I'll focus to everyone's attention. So after you put your circles in this space over here on the right-hand side, what you want to do is go down to either research and pre-work if you're in blue, and you can put in some things that you think would be initially what you would want to kind of go after to understand this space and whether the idea and the way that you're thinking about could work. If you know of SMEs and community experts that you would want to kind of outline here, then you would also put it there. And then if you were part of the team that's listed here, let's just say for blue, Laura, Ruth, Keith, Michael, and so on. The way to do it down in desired team role is that basically you would put, say, if your name is Keith over here, in capitals, you would just basically put your name in parentheses, and then whatever role you would want to have on a team that would be pursuing this particular idea. I won't presume for Keith in terms of what he wants to do, but this would be like the role that would basically be in that particular spot. So at this point, it looks like blue and green, both making this a subject in school and identifying root cause for best responses seems to be the one that has the most interest. I would say that probably yellow would be one that you don't have to necessarily concentrate on, but just the numbers seem to indicate that both of those, the first and the third, are where the focus should be. So while we're having conversations for the last 8 minutes, let's talk a little bit about both of those ideas. And you can, excuse me, you can ask questions or comment, excuse me, about what the idea is, what you liked about it, the potential you saw, and anything else you'd like to kind of share with the group. So I think, Jerome, we'll probably start with you, since you don't have a border on your name with the blue one, but you're also part of the one in green. What were those two? What was appealing about those two particular ideas?
Yeah, what I like in the green part is that we invest in the future, and that's through children and students. So that's why I really got attracted to that domain topic. Not saying that the rest is less relevant, but I would like to see how we invest in a prosperous future through children.
Okay. Alexandra, what was interesting about the green idea about making this a subject in school?
Just my experience of how learning works right now and how old-fashioned it is, especially in Germany when it comes to subjects.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in general that has to change, but let's just take this situation right now to bring different subjects in it, and also to make the children, bring that to the next generations. We need people who have a collective memory to this, and tell that their children. So that should be like a normal thing in school.
Cool. Ruth, you were one of the people that indicated that you were interested in identifying the root causes and best responses. What was kind of going through your mind as you were working through this?
What was going through my mind is that currently, so we get a daily update from the healthcare organization in England about what to do from a doctor's and a clinician point of view, but I'm kind of missing a little bit more input about what the households were supposed to do. So they seem to have a really, really clear plan, and they just follow that plan. I think it's called pandemic something, but I think the rest of the world didn't seem to have, or the other subjects didn't seem to have that. So I'm very happy to help with finding a specialist for a virologist, because our CMO is one. But I think it was the households were struggling. And so while we have a plan on one side, I think I kind of wanted to find out what to do best for other areas, but healthcare.
Very nice. Laura, you're also part of the Blue Crew, and I think that was where I don't see your name in the green. So why don't you tell us what your thoughts were around both the identifying root causes and best responses and creating a proactive plan for that?
Yeah, I think like if we compare like the different trends in how people got infected, and we see that the different measures, some people have some hypotheses, but I think it would be very interesting to really get clarity on the topic to understand why certain things happened. And so I think it's can be very impactful, and also can help on a community level, like, so how as a person level, what can you do, and but also on a society level. So I think it's very interesting also on a personal level to understand why things happen. And the green one, I have put high impact, because I think we need to invest in the future for our kids, like in changing the mindset, and this starts in the schools. But in the level of interest, I thought, I'm not that interested into like these new didactic methods, or like which kind of way like we could teach them. And I would prefer to get more deep dive in understanding on what happened.
Okay, fantastic. Lisa Weinsberger, you were also part of the Blue Crew. What was your thinking around how this fleshed out with the both the idea and the achieve what we want to achieve with the proactive plan?
Yeah, I would like to just help analyze how this happened. And also I read a few trend articles about the need to glocalize from globalization toward localization, back to that. So I think it would be very interesting to analyze these parts and just help out on this very complicated topic.
Cool. Matthew, we're switching to green and making this a subject in school to raise awareness, understanding, and personal responsibility. What was your thinking around the topic?
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's a very important topic, because I think it's very important to learn awareness and the personal responsibility, not only for the virus, but for everything else. And the coronavirus, the COVID-19, can be a good example of what can we do as a community. Because I think from this episode, from this fact, we can learn a lot and we can teach a lot as well. So I think it will be very interesting to create a model, you know.
Cool. All right, thank you for that. Michael Strobel, you were also somebody who was on green. Let me know what you were thinking. Are you there, sir? I think you're on mute. Wait up there? Nope.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So the school side of things. Well, I mean, it's interesting because I think someone else said that, you know, our youth is the future, and for them to want to have a recollection of this, of what actually kind of happened. But also I think getting them to kind of teach us in schools not only kind of extends the knowledge, and so we don't actually kind of forget this, but also to kind of tap their resources of like how they were experiencing this. So that, I mean, they had to, we all have to walk away from school, from work, but they have to walk away from school and to kind of be locked down at home. So like, how did they kind of get through it? So I don't know, awareness, all the good things, I think. That would make sense, but.
No, it does. It's fine. Sandy, you got the last word. You're back. We're going back to blue really fast. What appealed to you about this particular one with creating a proactive plan?
Actually, what interested me is how the different culture responds to this whole thing. So I think by comparing the different cultures, what they have done and what are the effects on each one, I think we could, yeah, that interests me a lot.
Cool. Okay, so two things before we wrap things up. Again, if you have any thoughts around the research and pre-work for both the blue and the green idea, put those in there. I think we have one box left for green, but you can also add more. Same thing with SMEs and community. What I'm interested to know about is the desired team role if you do want to be part of a conversation to move it forward. You don't necessarily need to know what your team role is. But if you don't know what it is and you'd rather leave that blank, you don't necessarily have to fill it in. You can just basically be part of the conversation based on the circles that you put in right next to the idea. So to make sure that we keep to time, oh yeah, one thing I almost forgot is that down here in the very bottom, and I'll point this out for folks that are over the place, we have a place for LinkedIn profiles. So if you'd like to do some networking with people that are going to be sharing this mural in the future, as well as for people that were part of this particular exercise, all you have to do is copy and paste from LinkedIn, and it should bring up your profile in this space. Sometimes it doesn't do it perfectly and it leaves out either the image or the description, and you just have to kind of do it a couple times and it eventually will work. But this is for the benefit of everyone that was here in case you want to connect after this is done. And finally, I'd like to do a group shot for everyone on the panelist side so we can commemorate this particular event in terms of us getting together for the first COVID-related GVDS event to showcase ideas. So I'm going to stop my share on this side. And as customary for these, it's pretty much you take something that is near you, some kind of prop that would either be culturally relevant or just basically in the moment, and hold that up to the camera. And for me, I've been holding up this dog every so often, so I got to find something else. Anything interesting? Ooh, a CD-ROM. When's the last time you've seen one of these? And the Colt Express. There you go. Yeah, Sandy, I think you got enough things on the shelf to basically. There you go. All right, everyone got something? Everyone? No? Close? All right. And Lowenbrow, the T of Lowenbrow T. All right, everyone, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you all for coming to the session. It was really worthwhile. I will follow up with everyone who put their intent on the mural board. If you have any comments for me, you can leave them in chat. Give me a rating of 1 to 10 of how things went. If it's below 8 and you want to do a 6 or a 7, do leave a comment around how you would improve things. I'll leave the mural open so that if you want to continue scanning and looking what people did, you can do that. But thanks everyone for coming today. It was really fun. It was very informative, and we will be doing this again next week. I'll be putting up the event for people to sign up if you'd like to give this another go. So take care, stay safe, wash your hands, make sure you clean, and practice safe practices out there, okay?
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Well done.